Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Orlando, and today we're talking about how can you get into your first property with no money down, and we're talking about seller financing. Seller financing is a really creative way to get into real estate. And so let's jump right into it. So what is seller financing? Seller financing is when you, the buyer, go to the seller and the seller is basically the bank. They go, instead of giving you money, they work out a payment arrangement for you to purchase the property. Now, there can be many reasons for that, and we're going to go into the reasons that you should look out for. And the main reason for that is that the seller in some ways will come out better by doing the seller financing in certain situations. And then you, on the other hand, maybe you won't get traditional financing. And as we're talking about the no money down financing, this allows you to get in where they will quote unquote loan you, even though it's on a promissory note, they will lend you the money at 100% loan to value. And that's what we're looking for, right? Getting into your first rental property at 100% loan to value with no money down. This is one of the great ways. So we're going to talk about the pros and cons and why this is important, guys. I need you to listen to this. You have to know the reasons why the seller is doing what they're doing. Why are they giving you 100% financing? We're going to get into it. So the first pro for you is, as a buyer, is that you may not have been able to get regular traditional financing. As I stated earlier, you don't have to go through the credit, asking questions. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? When you go to seller financing, they're pretty much just going to make sure that you can make the payments. It's closer to when we were talking about hard money loans than it is traditional banking. So that is a positive for you. Pro number two is that the closing process is cheaper and faster. And the reason why this is because you are just working with the seller. You don't really have to work with all the middlemen. Basically, you don't have to wait for an appraisal. You don't have to wait for any of those things. You can jump straight into closing. It is cheaper because you don't have to, like I just said, you don't have to work with appraisals. You don't have to get inspections. You don't have to get any of those things. I would still highly suggest that you get an inspection and to look deeply at the property, but those things aren't required for you to purchase the loan. So that's the reason why it's cheaper and faster. You can probably get a seller finance deal done in 2 weeks. Like I said, it's closer to hard money loans than traditional financing. Pro number three is the down payment portion. We're talking about no money down, so that means 100% financing. But in reality, it can be whatever you want the down payment, whatever you and the seller agree on. And most sellers won't have an issue with doing 100% financing. Some may ask you to put down 5%, whatever, but I believe that if you really push the issue and you let them know and they can see that you're going to work your best to try to get the deal done, and there is a big upside for the seller. Now you have to make sure there's an upside for the seller. They will give you 100% financing. So this is where the no money down portion comes in at, because you don't have to bring in a big down payment or any down payment at all, because it's based on what you and the seller agree on. Okay, so let's talk about some cons for you as the buyer. And this is really important, guys. You have to understand that number one, the first con is that you will pay a higher interest rate than you would if you would go to a traditional bank. This is something that you're going to have to pay close attention to. The interest rate will be higher, guys. And the reason why it's higher is because you're cutting through so much red tape. You're getting personal financing through a seller. You're getting 100% financing. And this interest rate will be something that you and the seller will have to agree upon. But once again, guys, if you're going to try to do 100% financing, you have to make the deal juicy enough for the seller. So just remember that, but you don't want to make the deal so juicy to where it cuts into your profit. That's the first con. Con number two is, depending on the deal that you and the seller strike, you probably or most likely will end up have to making a balloon payment. What is a balloon payment? A balloon payment is basically at the end of the loan, or the term of the loan, you will have to make one large payment. So for example, if you bought a $200,000 property and let's just say it was only for 1 year. At the end of that year, you would owe the rest of the balance. Whatever the balance is, you would owe that at the very end, and you have to pay it. If you do not pay it, then you go into default. So what does that mean? If you go into default, then that means that the seller can foreclose on you because you did not follow your agreement that you and that person have made. So you don't want to get into that area. So that means that you have to have what's called an exit strategy, meaning AKA refinance the loan with a traditional bank. But if you're going to do seller financing, you want to try to make it extended, right? You want to give yourself some time. You don't want to do a 1-year loan. It's going to be a little tight, guys. So just be very wary of the terms that you and the seller agree upon. And then con number 3 is you can still get turned down from the seller finance. It is not guaranteed, guys. A savvy, smart seller will still try to run your credit or will run your credit to see if you are a credit risk. Now, I'm not saying he's gonna run your credit just like a bank would and nitpick at everything. He's gonna see if you have 30, 60, 90 day, 120 day lates to see if you don't pay your bills. And he's gonna probably look at the big credit score. Is your credit a 540 or a 620? I mean, that's a big difference, guys. So that is one of the cons. So this is how you can get into your first property, no money down, using seller finance, guys. I hope you enjoyed the value of this video. I'm gonna help you get into your first property, guys. Like I always say at the end of my videos, I will get you into your first property. I wanna make sure that you look at this next video here and continue with the education that get you into your first property. You're gonna need all of these things because education and knowledge of what you're doing and how you're planning and strategizing is key. So watch this next video. It will help you and continue to help you to find out which way is best for you to get into your first rental property. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.